In this video, we're going to explore how to merge two different processes for taking notes, the Cornell method and sketchnoting. Let's get into it. Welcome to Verbal to Visual Video. I am your host, Doug Neal, and I'm excited to dive into this specific topic today because I get questions from students in high school or college, but also teachers about how to bring visual note-taking into the classroom. And I wanted to explore how we could start with a note-taking system that students might already be familiar with, the Cornell method, and add into the Cornell method more visual tools, more sketchnoting elements to make it an even more powerful combination. So if you are a student, my goal for you is that you can use this technique and take better notes during class. Let's start with what standard Cornell notes look like. With this note-taking process, you divide the page into these four different sections. Up top, you have the space for the topic, your name, the date, those types of details. Then in the bigger section to the right, you take top to bottom in the moment notes. So these are the notes that you're taking during the lecture or while you're watching a video or reading a textbook. Then, after the fact, you use the section on the left to pull out the key ideas that are contained within those in-the-moment notes. That's an opportunity for you to pull out the most important pieces and highlight them there on the left so that they're easier to reference in the future. Then, in the bottom section, you add a 1 to 2 sentence summary of the ideas contained on this single page. The power of this note-taking style is that when you go to review these notes, you know where to look to get the most important ideas. It'll mostly be that smaller section on the left and the summary on the bottom. That's what you'll study. And then if you need to dig into your in-the-moment notes to find more details, you can do that, but only when you have to. So that's the Cornell method, a specific process for taking notes that has a structure regarding layout, how you're going to organize ideas on the page, and even has some process elements in terms of what you're doing while the information is first coming in, and then things that you can do after the fact to reinforce the most important ideas that you just learned. It's not by default overly visual though, so let's see what happens when we build some sketchnoting elements into this Cornell method. Within that top section, you might consider adding a topical sketch, something related to the subject matter that you're about to take notes on. You might even add a calendar date to make that stand out a bit more. Then write a large title with then maybe your name and some other info below it. Adding just a few visuals there to that top portion of your notes, not only will that make for nice quick references when you're reviewing these notes later, it can also help get your brain and your hand warmed up to doing something more visual, which we'll continue doing throughout the rest of these notes. Within that section for in-the-moment notes, you have a lot of flexibility. If you'd like, you can start off primarily using just text for your notes. Then maybe consider using dividers to break up the page a little bit as you move from one idea to the next. And as you move down the page, feel free to build in other elements when appropriate, like maybe adding an image or a diagram in addition to some text, or capture some details using a bulleted list. And if you come across a hierarchy, you could use a numbered list. Since that section is where you are capturing your in-the-moment notes, you might not always have a ton of time to do anything that's real detailed in terms of imagery. But even just giving yourself the option to do a quick sketch or diagram when you're able, that adds a little bit more dynamics and flexibility to your in-the-moment notes. And I think even just having the option of doing something more visual in your mind, it triggers a different type of processing power so that you're more active in the way that you're responding to the ideas. You're not just passively taking in information and on a laptop typing it word for word. You are actively processing that information, getting down as much of it as you can in a way that makes sense to you in your words and in your images. Then within that section to the left, still pull out the key ideas of each of those sections of your notes, but consider adding icons for quick reference, like a star when you're capturing a key idea, or a little profile icon if you want to mention an important person. You could make these up as you go, but I think it's also worth spending some time developing your own custom set of icons. Icons that have a particular meaning to you that you can reuse. That way, when you're flipping back through these notes, it's easier to quickly find the particular piece of information that you're looking for. And finally, within the bottom section, still use that to summarize, but use a scene or diagram to do it. Try to connect the most important ideas, either with kind of a mind map like this, or try to imagine some sort of situation, a quick scene that you can draw that is representative of the most important ideas. Because when you make that summary section and the key ideas on the left, when you make that more visual, it just will be easier to review and easier for you to remember those ideas whenever you need to put them to use.